Thank you very much, Alexander, and good morning, everybody. I welcome you to our seminar today morning about the health performance of nearly zero energy building. You should be able now to see my screen. And I would like to give you a brief introduction to this topic, to the policy context, why we are organizing this seminar now, and introduce you also to the speakers. I'm Anita, Derjanecz, Managing Director of RIVA, which is a federation of European Building Services Engineering Associations. And today we teamed up with EU-level stakeholder associations to talk about this topic. The idea came from an event we had not so long, 1 month ago actually, and I just wanted to highlight you that there was another conference seminar about this topic, and the presentations are available on our website. And we brought to you today actually some key highlight presentations and also some new ones to talk and show you what is going on at EU level and in Europe in this topic. So because the health and indoor comfort actually in buildings is now in Brussels, and also in our sector, of course, which is building professionals, is a term that we use every day and is at the core of building services engineers' work as well as industry who provides the equipment for technical building systems. However, on the policy context, so how the policy and how the building regulations see this problem is slightly different. So if you look at like European and national policies, building codes, how they tackle the problem, and of course we targeted EPBD at European level, which is under review currently, we can see that indoor environmental quality and especially health performance is not very much regulated, and probably not stressed as much as it could and should be. There was a study just at the start of the EPBD review conducted by the GRC, the Joint Research Center of the European Commission, about this very topic, promoting healthy and energy efficient buildings in the European Union. That was supposed to be a kind of background study also supporting the review process. RIVA and many other European stakeholders and research institutes were involved in this preparation of the study. It looked at the national level requirements, what is existing there, and also had some recommendations to EU policymakers about whether and how to integrate it in the EPBD, the European the buildings law, let's say. And it turns out that, of course, we know that there is no European level IAQ, indoor environmental quality or ventilation requirements currently in place, and this is actually a competence of the European member states from regulatory point of view. But also this study showed that after now implementing EPBD since a while, and after the refurbishment of the building stock and of course the building codes on new buildings are in place, still the results show that there are many problems due to for indoor environment quality and health performance of buildings, also reported after building large scale and deep energy renovation. That showed also that if the buildings become more tight and we don't tackle this problem with some adequate ventilation, then it can even deteriorate the indoor environment quality, which is also, of course, not a good motivation for users and building owners if such cases, if this is not addressed, this problem in an appropriate way. So, of course, mechanical ventilation will become and should become more frequent with this trend going for more better building envelope performances. There were also some other studies. For example, the European Commission conducted a study actually, or had a service contract to start to develop the European Building Stock Observatory, which is now available actually online. And it has already the criteria which data should be collected about the European building stock. Of course, many data are still missing, but this chart was presented by actually a colleague from the European Commission, DG Energy back then, who was in charge of this observatory, and it shows actually how IAQ requirements are in place, were in place in 2016. And as you can see, in many countries there are either no requirements or back then actually it's not exactly known with which kind of binding requirements the national building codes have related to indoor environment and indoor air quality. Also, BPI conducted a research in 2015 with a similar aim. Actually, mostly I highlight you the ventilation requirements across the European countries, and that showed that by only like half of the countries that were involved in the study and replied to the survey have binding requirements regarding indoor air and indoor environment quality. So that's kind of background, the state of the art where we are now, and why we think this topic is really crucial to discuss is because of the EPBD review and because of the actually whole winter package of clean energy for all Europeans that is now under negotiation and should be soon finalized and targets many key European directives and policies related to energy efficiency. Of course, we know all the climate and energy goals of the global and European goals, and we agree with them. However, the stakeholders across Europe have the position that the EPBD should tackle buildings' health performance, indoor environment quality, at the same time than energy efficiency, and many organizations, including RIVA, had several advocacy actions and position papers regarding this. That is the RIVA position for the EPBD review released like during the beginning of the review process, where the first one is actually ensuring high indoor environment quality and energy efficiency at the same time when we come to talk about building regulation. But of course, the other two key priorities for REVA, the quality of the actual design work and maintenance of the systems and buildings, including inspection, or even the recent EPB standards, which are now available and are waiting for national level application, and actually the harmonized and ambitious application at national level, all could and should contribute to this aim to ensure that our buildings deliver not only energy efficiency but also very high indoor environment and comfort levels. That's just a small highlight on the many action position papers events that were organized around the topic, actually with the European Parliament and in Brussels. Several NGOs covering both professional societies, industry associations, yes, consumer associations were advocating for health and indoor comfort in buildings, and also it's important to stress that actually the refurbishment of the European building stock, which is the task or the challenge we have to solve if we want to achieve the European and our contribution to the global climate and energy goals, will happen anyway now, and Europe should use the opportunity, and policymakers should use this as an opportunity to improve IAQ, indoor environment quality, once buildings undergo major renovations. So compared to this, what we know about the policy process right now, the European Parliament's committee for ITRE committee was in charge of elaborating the let's say Parliament position, and I just had a look on the final ITRE position and ITRE report from the perspective of IAQ and health issues. There are some improvements, of course, as we come to talk about regulations. It's a very specific and technical challenge also to include EU level requirements, especially with the subsidiary principle, and that member states have actually it's the competence of member states to define this. However, there are some positive trends in the Parliament position and the report that ITRE released. The IAQ and comfort is now specifically mentioned in the performance calculation and in the Annex 1 of the EPBD, so that these energy needs should be calculated in order to maximize indoor air quality and comfort levels as defined by member states. So the competence is still at member states level, but it's clear that there should be these levels defined. And the improvement of health and indoor climate is mentioned in the long-term energy renovation strategies that the Parliament gave a strong support that member states should develop such strategies in order to achieve this challenge of renovating our building stock in Europe. Then there is also a smartness indicator introduced in the EPBD review, which should be somehow an indicator under that should be developed to tackle the so-called smart readiness of a building. So how much the buildings are fit for the future requirements in terms of digitalization and smart building trends. These should also consider IAQ and comfort criteria, and it's stressed that if there is an energy performance upgrade of a building, a deep renovation, then it should contribute to a healthy indoor environment. However, this proposal of the Parliament doesn't make many, let's say, legally binding proposals. So IAQ and ventilation are not monitored in any way, neither in EPCs nor are they subject of inspection. It is not displayed in EPCs at all, and these requirements are, let's say, soft and long-term requirements, and there is still no EU-level indoor air or indoor environmental quality criteria, as was proposed by even this GRC study or stakeholders during the whole review process. The good news was back then when the report and the Council preparatory position was released, that actually the Council position also also contained such a sentence, which I put it as a literary quote, that actually the energy needs for space heating, cooling, and adequate ventilation shall be calculated to ensure minimum health and comfort levels as defined by member states. So that was a proposal of the council, so member states, even more accurate actually than the initial parliament wording, let's say. But still, of course, we know in the meantime that the negotiations doesn't look very well, so it won't, the discussion between the trialogue won't be successful most probably, so they didn't manage to agree, member state and parliament, in the time frame that was told, as it was told by the Estonian presidency. So we'll see whether they manage to discuss or agree on anything this year yet, or most probably only next year. Of course, member states still stress that they don't want to have more burden. The EPBD is already a challenge to implement, as it is from the second recast, and there shouldn't be any new binding recommendations or criteria for member states. Also, which we consider as a problem, and is that regarding inspection, that would be a means to check the quality and performance levels, even in a comprehensive way, is not supported by member states, and they want to keep and reintroduce actually the so-called adequate advice when instead of as an alternative on inspection, which was now actually deleted from both the Commission's initial legislative proposal and also the Parliament, of course, didn't supported these and went even further. So this is the status where we are. As mentioned, the negotiations are kind of stuck now, and we'll see how it evolves actually early next year. But of course, we have to go further. So the topic we consider still as a key of our everyday lives, and also professionally, the building sector, the buildings, designers, manufacturers are committed and convinced that the technologies are there and it's feasible to achieve these high health performance levels also in buildings. So just I would like to highlight what RIVA and other EU level and national level partners will do regarding the key aspects of the RIVA position, IAQ and health. So we will keep going, having awareness raising and advocacy actions. Actually, this webinar is also fits in this line, and keep targeting policymakers to make it happen also on the legislative point of view. There are also many ongoing initiatives regarding inspection. We think that actually a holistic inspection and technical monitoring of the quality and performance of a building should be much more deployed and better used in the European buildings and in Europe. And also RIVA supports the new EPB standards, and we will set up actually an EPB center that should disseminate and promote the standards and have other dissemination and demonstration actual initiatives and projects on the topic. So that was from my side to set the policy scene for this webinar. And then I would like to briefly introduce you with the speakers of our event. We have three speakers today. I will hand over after my presentation to Aca Bustra, who is Vice President of RIVA, but also CEO of a Dutch consultancy company specialized on healthy buildings, indoor air quality and thermal comfort. He is a mechanical engineer and specialized also in the investigation on sick buildings and how to design healthy buildings. And he is also involved in our Dutch member association, TVVL. He will talk us about generally to the topic of the health performance of near energy buildings. Then we invited also Buildings 2030, which is a relative new company pursuing a long-standing objective of achieving healthy buildings for people. Kristina Klimovic, who is senior manager at Buildings 2030, leading the communication and marketing and stakeholder coordination efforts. She will present us the some brand new initiative and also white paper presented by the project. And then we also invited Roberta Savli, who is Director of Strategy and Policy at the European Federation of Allergy and Airways Diseases Patients Associations. So that's the, let's say, patients or consumer point of view as well that we would like to bring into the discussion, and she represents their view and their positions regarding the topic of health in our buildings and how it should be ensured for every citizen of Europe.